everyone, welcome back to Fantastic Microbes and Where to Find Them. Today we're going to be exploring Sedona, Arizona. Now, I grew up in Arizona, and one of my favorite places to visit was Sedona. And apart from the red rock that they have and the really cool shops and stuff in downtown, they also have a really cool state park called Slide Rock. Now, a lot of you guys might have heard of it, or maybe you haven't, but it's really cool. They have this really cool river where the rocks are so smooth, it's sandstone that's been smoothed over for millions of years, that it basically forms a giant water slide. Since I've gone there my whole life, I kind of wanted to know, what was I swimming in? What's going on in there? Is there any life in Slide Rock? Let's check it out. These humans have no idea what they're swimming in. In fact, I had no idea what we were swimming in my entire life. But where there's green, there's probably a lot of life. And in this river, we saw a lot of green. So I took it upon myself to collect a bunch of algae, but don't worry, I saved some for the minnows here. Now, everything that you're about to see was in this single water bottle. Most of the things I wasn't able to see without the microscope, but this little guy was easy to tell because he was moving around like crazy. So I figured let's go ahead and start with the big stuff. So here's that worm underneath the dark field lens, and it is a segmented worm. And really cool to see under dark field because you can see through and all of its insides. Another cool feature is that it had kind of whisker-like antennae that it probably uses to help smell and find things around. Next up, we've got a rotifer. This little creature was really cool to see. You can kind of see it has a rainbow-like hue around its edges, and I think that's because I had it right next to the edge of the microscope slide, so I think the light was just hitting it in a really interesting way. I decided to switch over to the bright field lens to get another view of this creature, and it was really cool to see because with this view I can actually see a lot of the organelles. Now, this is kind of one example of why it's really cool to have a bunch of different kinds of lenses or filters, because it's really hard to get the whole picture of an organism through just one lens. So I zoomed in for a second, and right when I zoomed in, its head contracted and went inside of itself, and then slowly it started opening up again. One of the really cool features that rotifers have. So in this video I tried to classify all the organisms as best I could, but with this particular ciliate that you can see floating around that looks like jellyfish, I kind of had no idea what I was looking at. I looked in a couple different reference books and couldn't find anything close to what this was. But it looks really cool. Now, as I was watching these ciliates, one of the cool things that popped up was this hippotrick right here, which you can see just kind of standing on the edge of this substrate. Now, hippotricks are really cool. They've got lots of legs and just swim around and move around in a really cool and different way. Here we have another ciliate known as Spirostomum. One of the cool things about these critters is that they can contract their body in order to move around places. Now, I wasn't able to see this one contracting its body, but the next creature that we found did. So this is called a paranema, and right now it's contracted, and you can see in just a second it's about to swim through some substrate, and it needs to extend its body, so watch it just find its way. And here we go. Look at this, just squeezing through and extending its body to get through. I think that was pretty cool. Now, I'm not the first person to discover this creature, and when I was trying to find the identification for this guy, I found a Wikipedia article that referenced them back all the way from like the early 1800s. I even found this cool artist's rendition of its extended and contracted forms all the way back from 1880. This is one of the smallest creatures that I found. This was a type of gastrotrich, and one of the cool things about them is that they swim a lot differently than other ciliates do. These guys kind of glide through the water, and it was really, really pretty to watch. Now this one's a little hard to see, but it's right in the middle. This is a type of amoeba called a heliozoa. At least I think that's what I was looking at. Now, amoebas are really cool because sometimes they can be amorphous blobs floating freely throughout everywhere, but a lot of the time they're covered in some sort of shell. Last but not least, I found these really cool looking diatoms that are triangle shaped. Now, if any of you were wondering, diatoms are more closely related to plants than they are to animals like us, as far as everything else that we've looked at. And it's crazy to think that everything that we saw was all in that one water bottle from this one river in Slide Rock. Alright, so that about wraps it up. So now I want to hear from you guys. What was your favorite organism that we saw on our adventure today? Were any of you guys surprised by what you saw? Thanks again for joining me on my small adventure, and I hope to see you all next time.